Okay. I think everything's working now. I've been super excited to do this, and I finally think I have all the tech stuff worked out. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Seth. Welcome to the YouTube channel. I have never done something like this before. I've mostly done vlogs, but I am going to be talking about the lore for my D&D campaign. Crazed Game Master rambles about the world lore. Today I'll be rambling incoherently about the lore of my D&D campaign. As I'm kind of talking about stuff, I'll type it out. Sit back and relax. Grab a snack. I don't think that we'll be here for a short amount of time. I got a lot to go over, so let's just jump right in. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. So, I don't even know where to begin. I feel like so overwhelmed. There's so much to talk about. So we'll talk about this. What is the world? The world's name is Eldritch. And Eldritch goes off a couple of rules. And those rules are as follows. One is that the world is Earth-like. So Earth-like in the sense of its gravity, the water to land ratio, the types of creatures that are on it, very much Earth-like. One moon, one sun. There's planets nearby. Then that stuff doesn't really come into play, but that stuff is there. Number two, gods, or the gods, because I want to keep that lowercase. The gods are birthed by belief. So the more people that believe in a god or in a being of something, the god of the sun, for example, the more likely and the more powerful a god can become or be into being. And so vice versa is also the same. The gods can die, frowning face, if enough people stop believing in said god. So, for example, if there was some cataclysmic event where everyone who believed in one god died, the god would perish. And that's not the only way that gods can die. So again, one can die via non-belief or death of believers. The other way is if the heart of the god is destroyed. Not always a physical one. So if the heart of a god is destroyed, we'll learn a little bit more about that later. The god itself will be destroyed. And typically, if a god goes into the nothingness or dies via non-belief, it's a bit more of a passive death versus one of the heart being destroyed. Again, we'll learn examples of both of these. Terrible cataclysmic consequences can occur because the god is going out in a way where it's not losing its power is being ripped from it. And that can be very dangerous. The next part of that is this idea that I had when I was creating the world was this idea of ancientness. There's this idea of there's ancient societies that kind of came to be and then were destroyed and now are able to be rediscovered by the more modern era. So ancient, so I definitely messed that up. Ancient societies that were destroyed and can be uncovered. And so those four rules kind of started this idea of Eldritch. I'm actually going to make it to where it remembers. Add to dictionary. Beautiful. This idea of Eldritch is kind of founded on those four core tenets, right? The world is Earth-like. The gods are birthed by belief. The gods can die either by death from destruction of the heart or by death from non-belief, or the believers all die. And so there's also the idea of the ancient societies that were destroyed and can be uncovered in the future. All of these kind of play around or are played around in this very important event, which is known as the affliction. There are a lot of lore cataclysmic events, an apocalypse, a terrible plague, right? That happens pretty commonly in lore. And I am no different. I bite onto the same cookie as everyone else. The affliction is what destroyed these ancient societies. Destroyed the ancient societies. A frowning face, not happy face. And what had happened is the ancient societies, there were 4 of these nations that all lived on a supercontinent. 4 nations on one supercontinent. And these 4 is Crazed, who was known for their militaristic prowess and supreme, forget the word for it, diplomats. I'm gonna have to remember. I realize that all of these names have not been touched at all in my dictionary, so they're all gonna be wrong. Next is Barawat, who is there it is again. Incredibly powerful arcane arts and divine intermediaries. I definitely didn't spell that right. Or did I actually? That's awesome. Next is the Hyperion Syndicate. They focused on artifact collection, and preservation of knowledge, which is cool for parties that are going through the ancient realm or the ancient nation's rubble and finding those artifacts or that well-preserved knowledge, and maybe even getting to learn something more about that. And the last one is the Collegiate of Ruinous Powers. Science-based and incredibly hungry for power. Hence the name Collegiate of Ruinous Powers. So these 4 nations are on this supercontinent, and eventually the 4 go to war. And what was known as the Unification Wars. They go to war over not only resources, but also these, I guess it would be another resource, right? The resource they're going after is this thing known as dreadstones. Dreadstones. Dreadstones are very powerful artifacts that can be inscribed with runes. They had innate magical power that was able to take a rune that you inscribed on it, and it would actually change what the dreadstone did. So dreadstones traditionally are this ambient green color, like a greenish blue, bright, have this ambient energy coming off of it. And when you would inscribe something in it, so if you did an inscription of fire, for example, it would hum a warm glow, and then actually it could be harnessed for weaponry. It could be harnessed to enchant items. It could be harnessed to warm a house or warm a home or a stove, right? So dreadstones, powerful artifacts, and Barawat had a lot of them. So did the Hyperion Syndicate. And all of the nations kind of wanted a piece. Barawat was being very aggressive with not necessarily how they used it, but how they collected them. They were kind of getting more, and they were kind of getting into others' territory since they're hidden deep underground. So they all go to war in what's known as the Unification Wars over these dreadstones, right? So they go to war, and during this war, the 4 nations become unified at the end of it. None of the nations are destroyed. I don't actually have a lot of lore about how this unification war went down, but 4 nations all survive, and they become unified. And they actually develop their own language, that each of them have their own separate language, but they each begin to now use the same one and use same language known as Unific. And so they all survive. They become unified, and they begin to use the same language known as Unific. And from that moment on, they all kind of, they all specialize in a different thing. Crazed, extreme military prowess. Barawat with their arcane arts. The Hyperion Syndicate with their artifact and knowledge preservation and collection. And the Collegiate of Ruinous Powers with their science. They all kind of made this golden age of of success for the common people. You know, everyone was thriving after the unification wars. Obviously, war drives economies, and that's no different here. So each of them, they kind of ended on neutral terms. I guess a note for me here would be note for DM. How did the war end, and how did the nations come to terms? Maybe something with Makazeth, because Makazeth was very much they had a lot of very good diplomats. It also could be sharing of resources or trade of services. It's like, hey, we can the collegiate ruinous powers. Oftentimes you have to outsource your guards because you guys are more scientists, or your nation's not really focused on military. Why don't Makazeth? Hey, we'll take care of that for you if you could lend us a little bit of a hand with the other parts, right? So, regardless, all 4 nations survive. They become unified and use the same language known as Unific, the golden age of success for the common folk. The idea of a dreadstone becomes common use. Becomes common. 3 M's. Common use among the common folk. And economy booms. That's awesome. Yay, hooray. We like that they are all doing well. That's a good thing. But there is more to this story. Oh, shoot. Okay, cool. I got a quick drink of water. I got water all over my shirt, but we're good to go. So, obviously, at some point, these ancient societies were destroyed. And I'll get into what happened in a second. But first, I want to talk about the deities of this era. Deities. Cool. So the gods were hyper specific. And what I mean by that is that gods were very focused on one aspect or one domain, right? So, for example, we have Enoch, the goddess of the hearth and rest. Or we have Tidal, the god of the oceans and their waves. Not god of water, but in specific, the waves themselves, like the way the water moves, right? There were some generalized gods, or you could say some are like birth and healing, right? So it's not just the idea of like life. There's actually the part of, giving life. The god that I want to talk a little bit about is Osiris, which I realized was actually an Egyptian god. I named it. I'm like, oh, Osiris is such a cool name. They're like, actually, that's legit. That's the name of a god in Egyptian mythology. I'm like, I thought that was cool. So Osiris is the god of natural disasters and weather. And so this god had a lot of followers. I'll put that here. A lot of followers. And what ended up happening is Osiris loved his followers. So much so that he created a temple to himself for his followers to use. And what did he put in it? He put his heart in the temple so that he could remain close to his followers. So he was always there. Smiley face. How sweet. The collegiate of ruinous powers definitely caught on to that. And they were interested. They thought, what can we do with the heart of a god? And since it was Osiris, the question that they then asked was, can we control the weather with the heart of Osiris? And so they set out just to do that. They hired an elite group of mercenaries, which is a one-shot idea I have. DM note. Stealing the heart of Osiris. One shot. That'd be fun. Hires elite group of mercenaries to collect the heart of Osiris. They do so while risking their life, trying to escape the temple. Like Temple Run for real. They bring it back to the collegiate, so now they have it, and they try to harness its power, and in doing so, they destroy it. Oh my goodness. This is the affliction. This is what destroyed the ancient societies. The affliction, after the heart of Osiris is destroyed, the heart erupts into just all sorts of natural phenomena, into hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and the supercontinent is destroyed. It's torn asunder, and 6 new smaller continents are born and begin to spread out. So this affliction, the cataclysmic event that basically wipes just the ancient societies off the face of Eldritch, is the effect and the consequence of the Collegiate of Ruinous Powers trying to harness it. 90% of all life dies, which was about 270 million, and now is only 27 million left. And across the whole world, that's not a lot of people. That's just life. That's just like humanoid life, like elves and humans and stuff. Certain species or races, I definitely think might have expired in that or gone extinct in that. I don't have any lore for that. Ooh, DM note. This is helpful for me too, right? If you're ever doing a brainstorming thing as a DM, make sure to have a little side conversation with yourself, like, oh, I need to do this later, right? Because now I already have 3 things in here, right? How did the war end? How did the nations come to terms? A DM note for stealing the heart of Osiris one shot. DM note. What was I talking about? Any species or races that went extinct. I do know that one race was born post affliction. That was the Dragonborn. And I won't go over the lore of that in here because I know that one of my characters in my current campaign is playing a Dragonborn, and he's on the quest to try and figure out, like, hey, where did my species come from? And I'm not going to spoil that because he deserves a good answer. But that happens, and he knows that it happens post-affliction. But the affliction happens. 90% of all life, humanoid life, dies. There's only 27 million people left. They get spread out across these continents, and the amount of earth that is unearthed from Eldritch and then landing on top of all these cities just not only flattens them, but it sends them underground, and basically a hard reset for the world. The world is destroyed and the gods all die. Gods all die. And the reason for that is that no one is left alive to believe in them. Anyone who believed in the gods probably died, and anyone who was left that still believed, how would you believe in a God if your whole world was destroyed and you've called out to them for help, but they've become so weak because everyone else has been taken off the face of the earth that there's nothing left for them to do, and they perish as well. And so the ancient pantheon dies, and now there are no gods. Oh my goodness. And so for the next 2,000-ish years, my lore gets pretty shady. Another DM note. Make lore between affliction and modern era. This is so helpful. It's not only helpful that I'm like getting to actually talk this out, because obviously every DM like prays for an opportunity to just ramble about their lore. Okay, so I have like 2,000 years of lore that I don't have much for, and so I need to kind of make some lore, things like how each of the gods were born, and then how modern nations arose, so on and so forth. But for now, we have this new era, which we call PA, which stands for post affliction. Hello, post affliction. And the party is kind of living around 2,500 years after the affliction. So life has kind of gotten Life has kind of gotten to a bit more normal life. There are gods, and the gods kind of evolved a little bit. And what I mean by that is that the newer gods, they may not know a ton about the affliction and what happened. Maybe there's a little bit of like uncertainty about what happened, but they do. Sorry, my roommate just scared me. Excuse me. My roommate scared me. I had to, give him the business. The gods evolved a little bit, though. And what I mean by that is that they are more generalized. And the reason for that, and what that means is smaller chance all their believers die. So now it's like God of the sun, God of the moon, right? And so actually, let's kind of get a little bit into the gods of the modern era. The gods of the modern era. Gods of the modern era are split, or they're kind of tied together. So they come in pairs. There are 8 high gods and 8 dark gods. And then pairs of 2 will always kind of go at each other, right? And so let's go over the 8 high gods first. The 8 high gods we have, we'll start with Halleck. Halleck is the god of the sun and goodness. A lot more generalized than how Enoch was, goddess of the hearth and rest, like rest specifically, or now it's just the sun and goodness, right? So a light cleric or a cleric of the flame might kind of follow Halleck the same way that another one might have followed Enoch, but there's a lot more generalization there. So Halleck, and then his daughter. Oh man, I gotta find it. Oh man. Oh, don't look. This is all my... Okay, here we go. Here. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to put it over here for myself. But I'll explain all this later. Ether, who is the princess of sun and moon. And there is this idea that she is the keeper of the secrets of mortality. And so, keeper of mortality. And there's rumors and speculations that Ether might actually have access to make people immortal. And so lots of adventurers are kind of going her way like, oh my gosh, please, grant me the wish of being immortal. And she's like, you don't actually want that, and she's kind of refraining from giving that to people. And that these two stand against the first two dark gods we'll talk about, which is Asmodeus, oh my gosh, and his son Modite. So Asmodeus, lord of all evil and the 9 hells. I'll explain what the 9 hells look like. There's layers 1 is where Modite resides. Layers 2 through 8 are the 7 deadly sins. Each like lust, envy, sloth, greed, wrath. Those kind of trickle down. Each layer representing one of those, with a archdevil that kind of resides over it. I don't really like to get into a lot of like satanic stuff in my games. I don't think that stuff has a place at my table. So I don't really get into the specifics of it. I just kind of say, hey, they're there. They're nasty, and we kind of leave it at that. I just wanted to have an explanation for it. And then the last layer is for Asmodeus. That is his realm. He is the lord of all evil. Very bad guy. Very bad guy. Then his son, Modite, is obviously son of Asmodeus, but also Prince of Shadow. He has manipulation of shadows. Modi. And thusly, he kind of takes control of Shadow to do his bidding. So he can summon creatures out of it. He can use it and form it into a weapon. He can use it to teleport. All this pretty sick stuff. But again, very bad guy. He's learning after his father, who is also a very bad guy, right? So let's go to the next 2 high gods, right? Next 2 high gods is going to be the wonderful, wonderful Ozak. Ozak is the god of healing and life. So that's things like doctors, practitioners of medicine. We see here incarnation of creation. So creation as well. And then he is the husband of Scarlet, the goddess of love. And it's not quite like the goddess of love, like lust, but more so the love and passion of something. Passion of something. So Scarlet is also kind of known as a muse to a lot of people. If someone like an artist is kind of like downtrodden, like, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to draw, it can be kind of gathered that Scarlet might send a muse to them, whether that's in the form of an actual angel, which can be called a muse, or a beautiful woman walks by and he's inspired. I must draw her, or I must draw this beautiful scenery I've come across, right? Or the musician who doesn't know what to write or what to play. Believe me, I know all about that. You're trying to write music, you're like, I have no idea what to do. The muse can come from Scarlet, right? So Scarlet and Ozak, the god of life and creation, birth and such, but also the god of love and passion and muse, right? And not just like the nasty passion, that's boo, we don't like that. So on the other end of that spectrum, we have Helios and Lady Gloom Maiden. Gloom, I guess it'd be 2 M's. Maiden. I got it. Dude, oh my gosh, so much. Add the dictionary. Here we go. So Helios is the god of plague and sickness. And so that kind of is inspired by Warhammer. If you know Warhammer, I love it. Nurgle. Think Nurgle. Big guy, super gross, fat. He's got these huge pores with like acidic pus coming out of them. There's maggots. It's super nasty. There's bloat flies all over him. That's his mojo. And he is married to Lady Gloommaiden, the goddess of death. And that is not, she's not so evil as all the other dark gods. Death is a part of life, right? And so Ozak and Lady Gloommaiden kind of have this understanding, like, hey, listen, if it's someone's time to go, like, they got to go for, you know, the sake of balance, right? Ozak tries to delay that with people who, you know, have a future, and sometimes Lady Gloommaiden can even get a little greedy and try and get them early. But she is the goddess of death, and her domain is this like realm. It's like a graveyard with a courthouse in it, and she judges people and determines where they go in the afterlife. Each god has their own plane of existence beyond the mortal realm. So like if Eldritch is here, each god has like their own spot somewhere around that plane of existence that's their own. Lady Gloommaiden takes a dead person to hers, and then she or her judges will judge someone and determine where they go. If a person has claimed, you know, that they believe in or they follow a certain god, that god kind of gets, you know, dibs on them, right? Awesome. Cool. Let's go to the next two. Next one, we got Tyke, and then we have Harian. Tyke is the diplomat, goddess of peace. We haven't done that yet. Diplomat of peace, queen of forgiveness, and the rider of the blood pact. I'll get into that in a moment. What is blood pact? I'll get that in a second. Harian, her son, is the god of chaos. What? On the one of the high gods, the god of chaos, but also the god of revolution. I recognize now that I have a plot hole that I just made for myself. Fix plot hole in regards to domain. And what I mean by that is that up here I said that gods are hyper specific, and these gods have like a generalized thing, like god of sun, god of moon, god of healing, or like god of life, right? But they also have something that is like very hyper specific, right? So the passion of something, rider of the blood pact, prince of shadow, right? There is a specific part to it. Maybe that's not that big of a deal. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but regardless, the break was so long that it went to dark mode. Okay, we're gonna keep on going. So I had this plot hole with the domain, but we're talking about Harian, goddess of revolution. So for those who are downtrodden, those who are at a lower status, Harian is the god that represents and kind of helps them out, right? So those who are suffering under slavery, right? Harian's your dog. Like he's there and he wants to help you, and he's willing to help overthrow those who are corrupt. And so basically he's very libertarian, right? Very much like, hey, big government, big evil government, no bueno. Anti evil rulers. Sweet. And then on the other end of those is Zon and Krieg. And so Krieg is the god of war, and he worked alongside So Krieg is the god of war. He worked alongside Tyke to create the blood pact. Created blood pact with Tyke. And the reason for that is the blood pact is basically when nations go to war, both Krieg and Tyke need to agree on that, right? It's not just something Krieg can do willy-nilly, but he has to have approval from Tyke in order to do so. But Krieg loves war. He is very much, obviously, he's very violent. He's a lot like Ares in Greek mythology. Zon is the god of trickery. And he is the understudy of Greg. And so Zon is the youngest god of the 16. I just realized, there's 16, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, 16. So he's definitely the youngest. And lastly, getting to the last 4, we have Fia. You can tell I don't have a lot of lore about Zon because I just kind of went right past him. And Micah. Fia is the goddess of nature and plants, known as like Mother Nature, and she is the sister to Micah. Sister to Micah. And then Micah is the god of beasts and animals, brother to Fia. In one of the campaigns, one of our characters, the last campaign we did, he played as a cleric of Fia, and that was awesome. I loved getting to explore the lore of Fia with him. Her domain's super sick. It's basically, they share the domain. Micah and Fia do. Huge grassland with different biomes kind of cutting up and dividing into different sections. And at the center, there's a massive tree, the tree of life, that Fia resides in. And Micah actually prowls out in the wilds. So both of those super awesome gods. The antithesis to them is the Harbinger, who is the goddess of storms. Evil, frowny face. Then there is Shield bearer Riley, who is the god of guardians. Very specific compared to all these other gods. God of storms, god of animals, god of plants. There's just the god of guardians. Shield bearer Riley used to be a good god. Sort of. It's a very convoluted and complicated, super intentional storyline that you definitely don't understand because it's just that complex. I'm just kidding. I'll explain it. Shield bearer Riley is an illusionary god. Shield bearer Riley doesn't really exist. And what I mean by that is that it's actually a disguise by another god. And that other god is actually named Gore. Gore is the god of blood. He is an evil, evil guy. And he is here to basically corrupt and destroy. And there is something known as the Gore virus. And this was part of that first campaign with that cleric of Fia. In the party, going about their business, they're doing adventuring stuff, they're stopping bad guys, and eventually this idea of Gore is kind of unveiled, and people are trying to figure out about it. But Shieldbearer Riley used to be a good god, right? It was actually the Gore in disguise. Zon actually helped Gore and disguised him as Riley. Oh my goodness, I can't type. As Riley. And so we have Gore with that virus. He has that Gore virus, and he actually corrupts Fia with it because he was being cast as Shieldbearer Riley, who was I'm confusing myself with it. Isn't that funny? I'll take a step backwards and then reapproach it. Shieldbearer Riley, the god that doesn't exist but is the hidden, the disguise for Gore, was a good god that the Harbinger kind of took captive. And the Shieldbearer Riley used to be a lover of Fia. And so whenever they had the opportunity to, Shieldbearer Riley actually went to her domain, saying, "Hey, I've been freed. I escaped the Harbinger." But actually, in doing so, he corrupted Fia with the Gore virus. And so the party then goes out of their way to find a cure for it. They find a cure, and they eventually put a stop to Gore with the help of the gods, all kind of backing them up, and the heroes and demigods of the gods, and so on and so forth. I know that's a lot, but there are demigods, which is just each god can have one, not because of like an in lore, like, oh, each god can only have one, but each god kind of chooses to have one. And so, for example, Morrowind, I know, really clever name, right? Morrowind was the demigod of Halleck, and he was known as Planeswalker Morrowind, and he was the first humanoid of this era, post-affliction, to actually travel to a different plane, and he actually traveled to Hallex, and then was then granted this idea of demigodhood. So each of them do something really cool. The god's like, oh wow, that's awesome, and then they kind of grant them this thing. So a follower of, for example, Atlas follows Tyche, the goddess of peace, and he is a Goliath, massive guy. And he, there were rocks falling on a group of commoners, and from this war that was happening, a minor war between dwarves and elves on this continent. I can get into it another time. And he actually holds up this stone to keep it from crushing them and allowing a way to escape. And he held it for like some hours before collapsing underneath it. And his care for, the people really caught the eye of Tyche, and she's like, hey, I want you to be my demigod, right? So that was really cool. But they each have demigods, and all that to be said, I think that's enough about the gods of the modern era. So for now, I'm going to leave it there. My hope is that eventually, at some point, I can get a little bit more into the specifics of what's going on in the common, the common era, this modern era, like what's going on in each of the continents and stuff. I know that you can't see it, but off screen I have tons of lore in regards to different continents and stuff. But I will definitely get into that sometime soon. I just don't quite have where was my thing? There we go. I don't quite have the time to finish it now, but for now I'll leave it off there. Thank you guys for listening and talking with me and enjoying this, listening to me ramble incoherently. Will any of this make sense? Probably not. Will anyone listen to it all the way? Probably not. But if you do, thank you. Use code word Alios, and if you put Alios is awesome in the description, I will think that's funny that someone listened to the very end. But thank you guys so much for listening. I will catch you in the next one. Bye now.